Roblox Forsaken. Everyone is talking about Roblox Forsaken, and at the time I could not understand why. I looked at other people on TikTok, criticizing the community, people calling it mid-saken. I mean, I played Pillar Chase 2 before, and I kind of wanted to give it a try because people were like comparing the two games, but I'm not gonna lie, the game exceeded my expectations. As a Dead by Daylight player, As a Dead by Daylight player, the few times I played the game before the Jason buff update on Friday the 13th, the game seemed on first impressions like a Dead by Daylight Pillar Chase 2 knockoff with cool early 2000s Roblox references. And in a way, it is, but instead of a rip-off, it actually pays homage to those games and references by also being original. And as you read by the title, this is going to be covering the beginner's perspective as my first 2 hours of playing the game and understanding how it works. So let's talk about the gameplay. The first survivor I decided to play as was Telemon, or Seletsky, and he was so much fun. But before I talk about Seletsky as a character, I'm going to be talking about the whole just game mechanics and how everything works as a survivor and a killer. In Pillar Chase 2, I really struggled with the sprint reservation gameplay to the point where I would say it's almost unfair as a survivor against the killer, which is why you get a lot of people in both communities when arguing against each other that Forsaken's more survivor-sided and Pillar Chase is more killer-sided. That was a terrible voice crack right there. However, this sprint reservation felt really good in Forsaken, both as survivor and as killer. The lack of permanent perks and abilities in Pillar Chase 2 made the beginner experience well shut. So having an offensive and defensive ability was great. So let's talk about Seletsky's first ability, which is the slash. So it deals 30 damage to the killer, stuns them for 30 seconds, gives Seletsky resistance 2, which I'm not entirely sure what that does, but it gives him resistance 2 for 0.575 seconds. And when you activate the ability, Seletsky gets slowed down 75% for 1.575 seconds, which is quite a long time. So if you miss this, it's over. So the cooldown for this ability is 40 seconds, which is quite fair. I think it's quite useful. It was difficult to use at first, but when I got the hang of it, it was quite fun. So ability 2, which is his fried chicken, which has a cooldown of 70 seconds, which is really long, and it only has 2 charges. But the reason why it only has 2 charges and it has such a long cooldown is because it is the support/defensive perk, which is him giving Seletsky the ability to heal himself by 40 HP. So it's 5 HP instantly, and then 35 HP in 10 seconds. And just like the slash ability, when doing it, it slows Seletsky down 75% more than usual. So having these abilities meant I had to use them sparingly and conservatively due to the long cooldowns, slowness, and 2 charges for the fried chicken. As a survivor, I noticed the people who died first were, number 1, way too aggressive in their ability usage, not using it sparingly, just consistently using it whenever and however they could. Not in the right moments. If they saw the killer just near them for a second, they're like, okay, time to stab them with my knife ability, or, slap them or get my gun out and shoot them. And 2, use their sprint way too much. Now, going back how the game works, sprint preservation is essential to survival. Once you master when and how long to sprint for, it makes you almost unstoppable. As you can see from these clips right here, I'm looping him around and even just breaking their ankles. I mean, it's Dead by Daylight. It's Dead by Daylight. Did I just say Dead by Daylight? I meant to say Dead by Daylight. Oh my gosh, I'm so tired today. I'm sorry, guys. My voice is cracking. I'm not speaking properly. I'm sorry. What I was saying was, as you can see from these clips, every time the killer runs, I run away, whilst keeping the most distance as humanly possible. And I walk to catch up my stamina in order to waste the killer's time for as long as possible. And also, whilst doing this, I need to bear in mind not to deplete my stamina all the way to 0, or else it will take even longer for my stamina to build up. I think it's a long pause. I don't know how long for. You're practically dead if you get to 0 stamina when you're in a chase. So yeah, as you can see from these clips, I'm never letting it get to 0. Anyway, generators. When completed, it reduces 4 seconds from the timer, and there are only 5 gens to complete, meaning you can reduce the total of 20 seconds from the timer, which isn't the most, but I don't know. It's something, I guess. When you kill a survivor as a killer, you add 30 seconds to the timer, which might seem unfair at first, but when it comes to the last man standing, the time remaining, no matter how high, goes down to 1 minute and 13 seconds to give the survivor and the killer a fair chance. What I noticed when I was playing, every time it hit last man standing for me, my heart would just pound. I would be so locked in, I wouldn't even talk when recording. I can't actually express how fun it is to play last man standing for that minute and 13 seconds, because you truly feel like your life's on the line, and it's so fun. Because obviously the killer and survivor are really well balanced, so it's kind of, you got to do the best pathing you can do. You just got to make sure the killer wastes their sprint as much as possible and you preserve your sprint, and the distance is great. You've got to hide as much from the killer as possible. Also, another thing to mention about last man standing, both your auras get revealed to each other, so it's terrifying, but it's so fun. Completing the generators, which are the only tasks available in the game so far, I believe, increases your XP by 15 and gives you $5, and I believe one malice, I'm probably not pronouncing that right, per mini game. How do you say this? Malice. Whoever has the highest amount of malice in the server will be automatically selected as the killer during the following rounds. I like this system since it encourages objective gameplay, unlike other games on Roblox. Instead of it being random selection like Murder Mystery and Pillar Chase 2, it rewards active and productive gameplay. I'm 4 pages into the script, okay, and all I can say so far is the game is peak. And everyone's wrong calling it mid-Forsaken, but the community is pretty mid. I have to admit that from what I've seen. That I'll mention that a bit later. I'm scared. Okay, you know it's bad. Look at this dude. When you see me unshaven, grotty, sweaty and 30 degrees, out here sticky, I feel like crap. When I played an extra 4 hours plus the 2 hours, let me just adjust the camera. Let me just restart. I'm a bit damaged right now.
You see, this is how crazy Batman's made Gotham.
I've played a total of 6, maybe 7 hours of Forsaken now, total, and my thoughts and opinions have changed. Now, the videos that I've watched before when they're kind of hating on the game because of the beginning experience being really occurred to me, like with my servers, I was really lucky for the 2 hours I played. Maybe because I stayed into one consistent server, and I didn't get people that have been playing for days and days on end in the same server as someone that's only been playing for 4 hours at the time, or 5, or 3, 2, even 6 or 7. How can someone with 6 hours of experience, which also that 6 hours experience has been contaminated by dealing with the most abysmal sweats I've ever seen in gaming history. What I'm talking about is the people, okay, that I play against, that are emoting. This is when I'm as killer, that are emoting, ganging up on me. They're not even touching a generator. They don't have any intention of going on gen. They just want to watch the world burn.
They can't be bought, bullied, reasoned, or negotiated with.
Because you need to understand something about people. Some men don't want anything logical like money.
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Okay, I had to cut my tangent off there because I was rambling because I was so angry. Rightly so, because I did spend a good 2 hours plus playing Forsaken, and despite server hopping and looking out for high level players to avoid them, they would join the server with the low levels, and then I would forget, and then I would just lose as killer or as survivor every time unfairly. And basically I was just drilling in the point that what they should do is, I understand it's a party game, Forsaken, I know it's supposed to be a casual game, but just to make sure that everyone has fun, segregate the players that have the highest amount of playtime, have more experience and knowledge on the game, from the people that have just started, that are beginners, that want to get to the stage of the more experienced players, but they just need time. So just put them in skill-based matchmaking. It's not competitive, just in order for people to have fun. Because I don't think this game should be competitive. But it becomes competitive when a player with 6 hours, 2 hours, 10 hours are against people with 6 days, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. You can't compete. You can't compete. That's the point I was trying to make. That's what I think. If you're a player that actually, unironically, gains pleasure out of bullying other players, you need help. You actually need help. In particular, players that are new to the game. And you know yourself that you have more playtime and experience. So it is almost inevitable, if you were in the same position of being against a player with more experience than you, who was fresh to the game, that you would lose to. So I don't know why you're acting like you're superior and the other person is inferior, when it is strictly based on the amount of time you have spent on the game compared to the guy starting fresh, or the fact that they have more of an outside life than you, being chronically online on the PC every day. That's my tangent, because generally I would love to be a part of this community, and one thing I'd love to encourage is just no bullying people, man. Like, it's I don't know, for me it's just, if you do that type of thing, please stop. Work on yourself and stop doing it. So please, devs, make segregated servers in terms of playtime, because we cannot have everyone in the same server, or else your game will eventually die. I don't think this game should have 200,000 players. I think it should have like 1 million. So that's it. That was my beginner's experience and introduction to Forsaken, which was all good. Apart from the fact that everything I said, I found from further research, watching YouTube videos and going through Wikipedias. If I wasn't familiar with Pillar Chase 2, this game would have been hell for me. Same with not watching people talk about the game on YouTube and how the mechanics work. I would almost have no clue where to start and what to do as a survivor. The killer's pretty self-explanatory, but at the same time, I wouldn't know about the sprint preservation feature and how if you get to 0 stamina, you're pretty much dead. From memory, I don't think there was a tutorial option at the start. Like, I could be wrong. They might have added it now, but at the time of playing, I didn't get a tutorial, which I think is very much needed for a game like this. Instead of blocks of text explaining how the game and characters work, which users actually have to find themselves. It's not even like popped up on the screen at the start or anything, so that's a bit of an annoyance. So yeah, the game is flawed in that regard. As a pure beginner standpoint, if I didn't include the fact that I watched the videos and all that stuff, I would be lying to you all. Like, it was a good beginner's experience because of all the prior knowledge. But other than that, I was pleasantly surprised with how good Forsaken is. After seeing the Pillar Chase community shit on it ever since the game got taken down, saying stuff that it's an inferior game, it's mid-saken, and all of that stuff. So it kind of put me off at first, but I thought, you know what, let's just give it a try. Forget what people say. Why does it have 200,000 players concurrently? There has to be a reason for that. And it makes sense, because Pillar Chase appeals to a different audience. Pillar Chase is for those who love internet creepypasta, horror games, and myths. Whereas Forsaken is for people like me who love Dead by Daylight and old Roblox culture. So in conclusion, ever since Jason has been buffed and balanced, the beginning experience both for Survivor and Killer is a huge step forward, and it's a clear reason as to why the game dominates in the player base. And only having 10 Survivors and 4 Killers makes the game easier to learn and tempting to master. More Forsaken videos coming soon, and yeah, peace out guys, subscribe. Help me reach 2,000 subscribers, thank you.